Hey folks, thanks for joining me today. Here on Finance and Freedom, we're all about our finances and our freedom, both currently as well as looking into the future. And I would tell you that today's subject is along those lines, but it's probably a little bit different from what you might consider for the channel. Now, if you're new here, I'm Chris, I'm your host. If you are a returning visitor, thank you very much. I hope that you have considered or will consider subscribing to the channel, liking some of the videos, and going back and looking at some of the videos too. And while I am not a financial advisor, and any information that is on the channel or in any of the videos is mere entertainment, okay? I want to say that right up front so that you know that what I'm going to talk about today is not financial advice, okay? So let's just jump right in. Today's subject is one that we're not going to spend an hour or more of time on. Likewise, it's not a subject that 99 out of 100 of us want to talk about, certainly not when you're younger. Nor is it a subject that you really want to dwell on. However, it's an important subject, a subject that we all need to consider. And as we get older, it's certainly one that takes more focus in our day-to-day activities and our planning for the future. What am I talking about? I'll give you three guesses. Food, mineral, or whatever, right? Vegetable? Yeah, it's none of those. It's elder care. Or in some other people's words, maybe it's long-term care. It's care following your retirement. And we've talked about retirement and things to consider when planning for that retirement. But let's face it, there comes a time in everyone's life when retirement has come, retirement is past, and we will get to the age where maybe we're not so stable on our feet. Maybe our thinking is not quite as clear as it used to be. Shoot, for some of us, we may be already there in that respect, correct? But also, how do we take care of ourselves? We can't always just depend on family, and if you're like me, you don't want your family to feel obligated per se to have to take care of you, to brush your teeth and pay your bills and carry you around from place to place because you are no longer capable of driving without having issues, shall we say. And then our memories start to go as well as we get older. And those are things we need to take into consideration. Let's just think about that for a minute though. Everybody ages differently, just like everybody invests differently. You have a certain type of criteria when you're choosing your investment methods, okay, or your platforms for investing. And so everybody's different. And that's the same thing when it comes to planning for your elder care, okay? Now, granted, everybody's body breaks down differently from the respect that as we all get older, our bodies tend to not want to function as they did when you were younger. For some people, that may be in your 50s or 60s. Some, that may be in your 70s or 80s. But frankly, when most of us are getting in the 70s and older, we're all pretty much going to be in the same boat. We won't necessarily be able to run, jump, swim, do all those things that we used to do and enjoy when we were younger, right? So in many instances, folks will move into assisted living. Now, regardless of where you live, if you're in the United States, assisted living is not cheap, to say the least. I have seen reports and read various things that have more or less stated that assisted living starts at around $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Now that's That's if you're in relatively decent health. You don't have to take many medications, if any at all. You can brush your teeth, you can bathe yourself, you can get out of bed in the mornings without assistance, things of that nature, right? If you go into assisted living and you need help taking your medications, bathing, just getting around, and you need assistance, that's probably going to tack on about $1,000 or so a month extra, because they're going to charge you in that assisted living facility for those types of charges or those types of assistances. Okay. Now, most assisted living places are set up with an additional memory care section. Obviously, if you have to go into the memory care part of an assisted living facility, there are going to be additional charges for that. Now, frankly, I mean, that's probably kind of expected, because you have to have, in that instance, you need a little bit more hands-on care, right? You may be short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss, things of that nature. And you need more assistance to just live day to day and to take care of yourself. You need that extra assistance. So you're going to pay for that, okay? If you have to go into serious care, if you've got particularly bad, what's the word I'm looking for? If you have particularly bad Alzheimer's or dementia, in addition to needing bodily care as far as bathing and things of that nature, you're easily going to probably get around $10,000 a month in fees to live in that facility. Now, there are things like long-term care insurance. Just like any other kind of insurance, house insurance, car insurance, life insurance, you can buy it. There are lots of providers for that type of thing, okay? You must know, however, in case you don't already, with long-term care insurance, the older you are before you begin taking it and paying for it, the more expensive it is. So if you're going to wait until your 60s or thereabout to start signing up for it, number one, because of your age, you may not be eligible for a lot of companies to provide that long-term care insurance for you, regardless of the amount that you would be willing to pay. And I say willing to pay because it's it's like all the insurances. Long-term care insurance is not cheap, okay? You personally will make the best opportunity for you to get inexpensive, and I won't say cheap, but less expensive long-term care insurance when you're in your 40s, maybe, maybe earlier. However, like all insurance, just understand that once you start it, you're going to pay and pay and pay, okay? And if you're okay with that and you understand what you're getting into, that's fine. If at some point you stop paying for it or you cancel it, getting it back after having already had it can be very difficult, okay? Now again, that will vary from company to company, provider to provider, whomever you check with as far as buying long-term care insurance, okay? Now, another aspect of being cared for when you get in that position or at that age, and granted, aging is going to be different for everybody. So there are folks that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, it varies from every person who might need assistance in an assisted living facility or memory care for that matter. There are folks that have looked at and have decided to either move themselves or the family members outside of their home country. In other words, there are folks that have looked at places where it's less expensive. Let's say that you moved yourself or your family member to an assisted living facility outside of the United States totally, not just Florida or Nevada or whatever, maybe to Mexico, maybe to Thailand, okay? There are assisted living facilities or facilities that provide that type of a healthcare service all around the world. Now, that's not to say they're as prevalent around the world as they are in the United States. And the biggest reason for that is in many cultures, family is important enough that those family members that need that assisted living type of care are moved into a family member's home. They are cared for. They're taken care of as far as, everything from their physical needs to, mental care. Just being close and around family members for some is very beneficial. And it can give a higher quality of life than you could probably ever expect to get in an assisted living facility, which is meant solely to take care of a person, okay? Are the costs the same? Not really. I mean, it's like everything else in the United States, it's high, and it's not cheap ever. So it doesn't matter if you look at a facility in Colorado or Florida or Tennessee or Connecticut, they are all expensive, okay? Now, that's not to say that all the facilities around the world outside of the United States are that much cheaper, but I would venture to say that if you're paying between $4,000 and $10,000 a month in the United States, you're probably going to pay half, maybe, in another place like Mexico or, whatever, okay? One thing to remember is if you want to try and move a family member to an assisted living facility or type of facility outside of the United States, it's just like becoming an expat, okay? Number one, you are moving away from a potential family situation where it's easier to get to a facility to visit with family or your family member that may be living there permanently. Because let's face it, once you move to assisted living, it's pretty much permanent. You probably are never coming out of that building except for the occasional doctor's appointment or whatever the case may be. Once you move there, it's pretty much going to be where you stay for the remainder of your days, okay? Now, again, if you move to another country to get a less expensive, probably better cared for facility, honestly, and it's like taking a long vacation. I mean, you need to go and check out the facility. Stay in the area for several days. You want to find out what type of services that the facility provides, who does it, how often. I mean, in other words, what are the meal times like? What are the lights out, type of situations where, everybody kind of goes to bed when they want, or if it's lights out at 10 p.m. and everybody just hunkers down for the evening and up the next morning at 6 or 7 or whatever for breakfast. You also want to check out not just the facility, but the people that work at the facility. Doctors, nurses, care providers. That's one of the things that has made the assisted living industry in the United States such a less than optimum situation for people to live in, is that the care providers have been, in some instances, found to be not just negligent, but downright criminal in the way they treat the residents at some of these facilities. And that's not to say all of them are like that. Some of them may be considered outliers in that respect. But you have to do your due diligence, just like you do anything else. So whether you're looking at a facility in the United States or in Cambodia, Vietnam, France, wherever the case may be, you have to do your due diligence and check those facilities out. You have to check out the staff. You have to really see what the situation is like there. And you may find out it's absolutely perfectly beautiful for your family member to be there. And the cost is less arduous than it would be on your pocketbook or their pocketbook, back in the States. And just like being an expat or a digital nomad, a lot of people have discovered that, hey, I can get on, FaceTime, I can get on Skype, I can get on my cell phone, I can talk to family members and see them and let them know what's going on with me, and I can find out what's going on with them. I can do it just as well in Vietnam as I can in Colorado City, Colorado. It's an airplane ride away in either condition, unless you're both living in Colorado City, Colorado, right? So those are some things to consider. The other thing that goes along with that is as you get older, or let's say, even if you're younger, in your mid-20s, for instance, as you develop your career, and if you're a business owner, as you develop your business, and you begin to have assets, money investments, savings accounts, CDs, whatever the case may be that you choose to save for your future, you need to consider having a will, and it needs to be kept up to date. Powers of attorney. I mean, you need to be able to appoint someone to take care of things for you in your absence. Now, that absence might be brought on by health issues. It could be brought on by having a severe car wreck where maybe you're in a coma. It could be any number of things. And, from that aspect, wills and powers of attorney are extremely important. The other thing is a living will or a medical power of attorney, where if you're incapacitated to the point where you're unable to make decisions on your own or on your own behalf, and the medical people the doctors feel that you are never going to come out of that coma, or you will remain in an unresponsive state for the remainder of your days, someone needs to be able to make various types of decisions on your behalf, okay? That's what the importance is of having that power of attorney, the medical power of attorney, a last will and statement, okay? It's extremely important. Several of those, the power of attorney and the medical power of attorney, and even the will for that matter, starting in the mid-20s all the way up until, all the way up until the day before you die, they're extremely important that you have those produced, written, signed, dated, notarized, and available for whoever is going to be working on your behalf when you're unable to, okay? To not do so leaves your assets in the hands of the government. Now, that will depend from state to state, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a lawyer either, okay? So don't take my word for it. Do some research, do your own due diligence, call a lawyer, call a CPA, find someone that you can talk about these types of things and take the steps necessary to protect your future, the future of your family, your children, whoever it is that you may need or want to provide for after you're gone, okay? Extremely important, extremely important. And one final thing in regards to that, over a certain period or a certain amount, you are allowed to take various types of deductions on your taxes. Okay, and that does not stop. That does not stop when you die. Okay, many of you probably are already aware that after you die, your family, and particularly whomever you have given power of attorney and wills, executors of your will and that sort of thing, those people are responsible for providing at least one final tax return to the U.S. federal government, and perhaps your state government as well, depending on where you live, of course. In doing so, you're able to take deductions for various types of things, or I should say your executor is able to put into your last tax return certain types of deductions. If you want to try and make that a little less arduous, shall we say, on the executor, you are allowed by IRS rules in the United States to give a certain amount of money as a gift in a monetary form to basically anyone you want to, up to a certain amount. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA. I don't know what that is at the time that you're watching this video. I think today in 2024, it's like $18,000 that you can give to a single person as a gift, a lifetime gift. So your daughter, your son, your niece, your nephew, your grandkids, whatever. I think it's up to $18,000 in 2024. Again, I don't know when you're going to be watching this video, so check with your financial advisor or CPA, or just do a Google search if Google is even still around then, and find out what that might be. By doing that before you get into a position where your money is at the behest of the federal government or the state government, could make it easier on your estate and what your executor of your will has to deal with. It could also provide a family member or a friend that needs the money now, that needs that money now. It provides them a safety net that, you know, they may really need now, as opposed to 5 years or 10 years or whatever down the road, when you might think more about giving it to them. And lastly, charity. In your will, you could always say, I don't have any family members, Joe's going to be my executor, and I want all my money to go to charity. Okay? It can be any charity you want. It can be a church, it can be an art museum, it could be Joe's cat down the street. It could be literally anything that's classified as a charity, and maybe Joe's cat's not a good idea. But you know, any charity that you want that's a real legal charity can accept that money, and that means that you would not have to pay any taxes on that money in the form of Uncle Sam pulling that last bit of money out of your pockets, okay, or the pockets of a family member. Because you could still give money to your family and still also give money to a charity. It just means that, you know, you would be able to provide for both as you wish to do in your passing. Okay, so that's all I'm going to talk about today, or all I've got for you today. A little bit longer maybe than I thought it was going to be. I'm not even sure how long this video is going to end up being. But I will tell you, it's a subject, again, that 99 out of 100 of us don't want to talk about, never want to talk about, don't even want to think about. It's not a subject that you particularly want to talk about when it comes to your death. And while that's certainly something that we don't want to talk about, it's certainly something we need to consider and plan for. And it's like many other things in life, your investments, where you want to live, even where you want to vacation for that matter. In doing that, it's always a great idea to sit down with a blank piece of paper, some sharpened pencils or an ink pen that works very well, and sit down and just take the time to plan. Plan your strategy and not just plan it, but figure out a way to execute it, because we probably spend more time figuring out our vacation to wherever it is for the family next summer than we do about life in general, and particularly about retirement and how we care for ourselves, or how we plan for others to care for us when we're unable to. So if you got comments, suggestions, please leave them down in the comment section below. I look forward to reading those. And I wish all of you a great rest of your day, regardless of where you are or when you're watching this video. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.